Signal Fracture, Part 3, The Convergence War. Welcome to our Stuttgart community messaging platform called the OPSEC Minute Extended. On Mondays, we use this space, in posted YouTube videos, to share both a little OPSEC, or Operation Security Wisdom, along with an occasional Marvel team-up bridge that ties into other regulatory security disciplines and policies. Please feel free to like, share with family or friends, or subscribe, and check out the video of this and other OPSEC Minute, extended stories on our YouTube I Secure Narratives channel. Simply let our stories capture your imagination as they play in the background while you tackle your morning routine and backlog of email. Now, enjoy this week's I Secure Narratives. Prologue: The Message That Shouldn't Exist. The screen glowed in the darkened EOC like a wound that refused to close. Phase 2 acknowledged. Adaptation confirmed. Escalation authorized. No malware signature. No visible intrusion. No traceable origin. Just words sitting inside a classified system that should have been unreachable. Nobody moved. Jess Hale felt the silence settle over the room like pressure before a storm. Priya finally whispered, "That network is physically isolated." Arthur Blunt leaned closer to the screen, face pale beneath the fluorescent lights. "Then they didn't break in," he muttered. Mac frowned. "You say that like it's comforting." Arthur didn't answer, because the implication had already landed. Whoever was behind this hadn't simply penetrated the system. They understood the people protecting it, and somewhere far beyond Stuttgart, someone was watching NATO react in real time. Act 1, Fault Lines. At 2:17 in the early morning hour, Europe began to drift sideways. Not collapse, drift. Delayed logistics authentication in Ramstein. Conflicting convoy routing outside Vicenza. Personnel movement discrepancies in Wiesbaden. Civilian telecom slowdowns bleeding into military relay infrastructure. Individually, explainable. Together, strategic. Inside Stuttgart's operations floor, alarms cascaded across the screens. "Traffic spike across joint relay nodes," Priya called out. Danny's fingers flew across his keyboard. Civilian systems are mirroring military traffic patterns. Mac looked up sharply. "That's deliberate." Jess stared at the map spreading across Europe. Military networks, rail systems, energy balancing grids, commercial telecom routing, layered together. "Someone's blending dependencies," she said quietly. Andrew Williams nodded grimly. "They're testing how quickly allied systems destabilize each other. That changed the room. This wasn't sabotage designed to destroy infrastructure. It was pressure designed to expose fractures." Act 2, The Strategy Behind the Attack. The Emergency Operations Center filled fast. Colonel Sanford stood at the center table, jaw tight. Alonzo watched the feeds without blinking. Rachel Kim and Marcus Velez coordinated incoming intelligence from other NATO installations. Then Rachel stopped speaking mid-sentence. "What?" Sanford asked. Rachel hesitated carefully. "We're intercepting chatter suggesting external influence operations are amplifying the disruption online." "From who?" Mac asked. Rachel didn't answer immediately, because everyone in the room already understood the possibilities. Russian disinformation networks had spent years probing alliance cohesion across Europe. That much was documented fact. But another possibility lingered beneath the surface. More dangerous because nobody wanted to say it aloud. A highly capable third-party intelligence actor leveraging chaos not to destroy NATO outright, but to redirect it, distract it, force strategic hesitation. Mac finally said it. "You think this is Moscow?" Rachel folded her arms. "I think Moscow benefits from NATO distrusting itself." "And the other possibility?" Jess asked quietly. Rachel looked toward Alonzo. He answered instead. "There are governments," he said carefully, "that survive by ensuring larger alliances remain unstable, divided, or strategically dependent." Nobody said the word Israel. Nobody had to. The room stayed silent long enough to become uncomfortable. Then JB broke it softly. "The moment we start chasing flags instead of patterns," he said, "we lose." Jess understood immediately. That was the trap. Not merely cyber intrusion, strategic suspicion. Turn allies inward, make every partner question the reliability of the next. Make Europe doubt Washington. Make Washington doubt Europe. And eventually, make NATO fracture itself. Act 3. The Human Battlefield. Then the attack shifted. Not toward systems. Toward people. Dennis Heaney rushed into the EOC holding a tablet. Coordinated social engineering incidents across multiple commands. "What kind?" Sanford demanded. "Deep-fake voice calls, fabricated emergency notifications, fake deployment changes." Rachel's face hardened instantly. "They're targeting trust chains." Within minutes, reports flooded in. A German logistics coordinator rerouted shipments after a spoofed NATO authorization. A French liaison officer received falsified intelligence implicating U.S. surveillance against EU partners. A U.S. contractor's spouse wired money after hearing a cloned distress call. Not catastrophic. Worse, believable. Small manipulations designed to create resentment, confusion, hesitation. Jess's phone vibrated. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. "Hail." Then she heard her own voice answer back. "Jess, listen carefully. Someone inside Stuttgart is compromised." Her blood went cold. A perfect replica. The room watched her expression change. "They cloned me," she whispered. Arthur looked shaken for the first time all night. "This isn't cyber warfare anymore." "No," JB said quietly. "It's psychological terrain shaping." Alonzo stepped toward the center display. "They're teaching us something." Sanford looked over sharply. "What?" "That modern conflict doesn't require destroying alliances." A beat. "Only exhausting them." Act 4. The Counter-Move. For the first time since the crisis began, Stuttgart stopped reacting and started thinking strategically. Jess stood over the operations table staring at overlapping attack vectors. Then she saw it. "This isn't about infrastructure." Everyone looked toward her. "It's about synchronization." She pointed to the cascading timelines. Every disruption is timed to create hesitation between partners. A rail delay here, a communication discrepancy there, a falsified intelligence leak elsewhere, individually manageable, collectively corrosive. "They want every ally questioning everyone else's information," Jess said. Rachel nodded slowly. "Mutual confidence degradation." Mac exhaled. "Weaponized distrust." And suddenly the battlefield became clear. Not Germany, not networks, not servers, relationships, the invisible architecture binding NATO together. Alonzo moved immediately. "No automated trust," he ordered. "Human verification on all critical decisions," JB added. "Direct partner confirmation channels only," Sanford said. The room transformed. Phones replaced automated routing. Face-to-face authentication replaced assumptions. Commanders began speaking directly instead of relying solely on digital systems. Human trust became the backup network. And slowly, the attack lost momentum. Because the adversary could manipulate systems faster than people, but only if people stopped trusting each other first. Act 5. The Hand Behind the Curtain. By dawn, the pressure began to ease. The probing slowed. The false signals thinned. But before the operation collapsed entirely, one final message appeared across the isolated monitor. No encryption, no signature, just text. Alliance resilience exceeds projected threshold. Adaptive unity remains statistically viable. Further fragmentation operations deferred. The room went still. Max stared at the screen. Deferred? Arthur whispered. That sounds less like victory. And more like an assessment, Priya finished. Jess looked toward Rachel. Can we trace it? Rachel gave a faint, humorless smile. Not reliably. Russia? Sanford asked. Maybe. And the other possibility? Rachel paused. Any state actor sophisticated enough to benefit from strategic ambiguity. Alonso crossed his arms. Which means the real objective was never attribution. Jess frowned. Then what was it? JB answered quietly. To make us suspect each other long enough to weaken ourselves. Silence settled again, because every person in the room understood something deeply uncomfortable. The operation had almost worked, not because NATO's systems were weak, but because human trust always breaks faster than technology. Epilogue: The Quiet Between Storms. Weeks later, official reports reduced the incident to sterile language. Coordinated cyber and influence activity successfully contained. Clean words, incomplete words. Jess stood outside Patch Barracks as cold wind moved through the trees. Across the courtyard, American soldiers laughed with German staff outside the operations building. Normal life, ordinary trust, fragile trust. Alonso stepped beside her. You still thinking about the message? Jess nodded. They said fragmentation operations deferred. Alonso sipped his coffee slowly. Meaning? Meaning they'll try again. A long silence. Then Jess asked the question nobody could answer. Do you think it was Russia? Alonso looked toward the horizon. I think Russia benefits when NATO turns inward. And Israel? That made him pause longer. Finally, I think intelligence services don't always create chaos to win wars. Jess waited. Sometimes they create chaos to shape the alliances that survive them. The wind carried the distant sound of aircraft overhead. American, German, NATO, still flying together. For now. Far beyond Stuttgart, unseen analysts reviewed data from the operation. Response times, behavioral adaptation, alliance cohesion metrics. Somewhere, someone updated a file, not labeled Germany, not labeled Europe, but something far more important, alliance durability under pressure, and beneath it, one final notation, further division possible. Thank you for sticking around as we continue testing the boundaries of an extended storyboard. Think of it as security training with a plot twist and a fresh way to both educate our team and connect with our military community. Subscribe to our YouTube Secure Narratives channel. Hit us with a like and watch for our new updates. Also, if you have other suggestions or ideas, or are interested in a personalized name drop, or your work center's inclusion to our tales, don't hold back. Send a quick note to share your thoughts. We're all ears and ready to make things even better. So, keep those comments coming. Until next Monday, stay aware, stay connected, and stay engaged.